even know about.
15, it is time for us to go. So let me call this to order, and let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Who hasn't done it in a while and knows all the words?
Stop that.
Hey, Penrose is taking the oath today. That is no, we had you do it last week. Last time.
Scott, in reality, it's Scott.
But you're taking the oth today. Let's do it.
Oh, okay, all right.
Please rise and join me. Place your hand over your heart and repeat. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Keep Scott, your next time.
Thank you, Mr. Penrose, and Scott, you're on deck. All right, let's deal with item number 3, which is the aforementioned commission appointment. And let me turn it to Mr. Tapia.
Good morning, County Commissioners. Commissioner Lou Penrose will be given the oath of office for his new term. This started July 1st and ends in June 30th of 2029.
Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Lou Penrose,
Do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support and defend the Constitution
that I will support and defend the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution of
and the Constitution of
the State of California
the State of California
against all enemies,
against all enemies,
foreign and domestic,
foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully
and that I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter.
discharge the duties about which I'm about to enter.
Sounds good.
Good luck back.
Perfect phrasing. It's not too long. I love it.
Welcome back. All right. Let's turn now, Madam Clerk, if you would give us a roll call and see who's who in the Zoom.
Chair Wagner,
I am here.
Vice Chair Bucknam,
Yes, I'm present.
Commissioner Davert,
Here.
Commissioner Freshley.
Here.
I'm sorry, but okay. Fissler,
Here.
Commissioner Wong.
Here.
Commissioner McGregor,
Here.
Commissioner Freshley,
Here.
Commissioner Moore,
Present.
Commissioner Penrose,
Here.
and we have a quorum.
All right, thank you very much. First up, any supplemental communications?
We have none.
All right, any public comments?
We have none.
Very nice. We are at the consent calendar, which is merely the approval of the minutes. Any changes?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Changes, thoughts, questions, comments? Director Wong, Commissioner Wong.
Abstain, I wasn't here.
All right, we'll have an abstention from Commissioner
Well, that's
Wong.
true. I wasn't here either. Doesn't matter.
For the record, Robert's Rules of Order provide that if you have any, even if you didn't make the meeting, unless you have a reason to believe the minutes are inaccurate, you are permitted to vote. But you're welcome to abstain. I count 2 abstentions. All right, anything further? Seeing nothing, there's a motion and if I can get another second since she'll be abstaining.
Yeah.
I'll second those. And at this point, any opposition or abstentions? Seeing none, matter carries unanimously with 2 abstentions. Thank you, folks. We are at a public hearing. This is item 8A, Municipal Service Review and Sphere of Influence Update for Orange County Mosquito and Vector Control District. I will open the public hearing. Madam Clerk, any requests to speak from the public?
We have none.
All right, let me close the public hearing and bring it back to the board. And Mr. Tapia, the floor is yours.
Commission Analyst Amy Diaz will be presenting the item for the commission. I do want to note that the General Manager, Laura Young, is in the audience today with us.
All right, good morning, Commissioners. The item brought before you today is the Municipal Service and Sphere of Influence Review for the Orange County Mosquito and Vector Control District. And so staff's recommended actions for the item are to receive and file the municipal service review for the Orange County mosquito vector control, to approve the OC LAFCO resolutions adopting the MSR and SOI statements of determinations and reconfirm the district's SOI, and to adopt the notices of exemption for the district's MSR and SOI in accordance with CEQA. And so just a little bit on MSRs. So MSRs are a mandate by the state legislature, and the Orange County Mosquito Vector Control District's MSR is included in the current work plan under Goal 2 and is part of the fourth cycle MSRs. Orange County LAFCO staff has been working collaboratively with district staff throughout the MSR process. And so now I'll just give a little bit of an overview of the district itself. And so the Orange County Mosquito Vector Control District is an independent special district and was established in 1947. The district's boundary is coterminous with the county boundary, so it encompasses approximately 800 square miles and includes all 34 cities and county unincorporated areas. And the district's primary mission is to protect public health by controlling the mosquito and vector populations in Orange County to prevent the transmittal of potential diseases. And they do this through various methods. Three of the main ones are through monitoring vector populations, educational programs, and by actual physical vector control methods. And some of these vectors can be, mosquitoes is the main one, but there's also flies, ants, rodents, other vectors. And so next I'll go into a bit of an overview of the MSRs and SOI determinations. And so as you all know, there are 7 determinations that are required to be included in an MSR. And some of the main ones that we'll be going over today are the growth of population, designated unincorporated communities, present and planned capacity, public facilities, and financial ability, and governmental structure. And so just starting off, the SOIs are also in concert with the MSR, and SOI determinations are used as a planning tool for any planned and probable needs for municipal services. And so next we'll go into some of the highlights of the MSR determinations. Starting with growth of population, the Orange County Mosquito Vector Control is part of the county. So county population is projected to increase from its current approximately 3.1 million to 3.34 million by the year 2040. And so with an increase in population, there is an expected increase in housing development in the county. And so there is a common misconception that with more urbanization and urban development, there's a misconception that there would be less habitat for vectors, but actually the inverse is true. There's going to be more habitat for vectors. And so with that projected growth of population and housing development, there is going to be an increase in service demand for the district. And so as there's more residents, more development, there's more surveillance, inspections, and a greater need for the public outreach as well. Next, we have disadvantaged unincorporated communities, and since it is coterminous with the county, this does include all 11 disadvantaged unincorporated communities in the county, so that is around the cities of Stanton, Anaheim, and Westminster. And we have found that all of these disadvantaged unincorporated communities are being serviced at the same level as the rest of the county and receiving like services. So next, I'll go into the present and planned capacity of public facilities. So as I just mentioned, as there's going to be an increase in population and housing development, there is going to be a need for future, an increased need for future services by the district. And this just puts a bit of a pressure on the district itself and its infrastructure. And so with this in mind, in 2011, the district purchased the adjacent Pacer Business Park, which added approximately 2 acres to its headquarters. But this was a bit of a short relief. So the district quickly has outgrown its space. And today this faces a couple of challenges, some of them including operational inefficiencies, parking constraints, and limitations on future program growth. And so the district is aware that there's going to be an increased need for vector services. So in 2024, the Board of Trustees approved the development of a plan to rebuild and remodel on the existing property in order to increase existing space and use it more efficiently and while maintaining uninterrupted service during its construction. And so next, we'll go over financial ability for the agency. And so the district is properly funded to provide future provisions of mosquito and vector control services to Orange County residents. 90% of the, projected revenues for fiscal years 23-24 were around $20.5 million, and 90% of those revenues were generated by taxes and assessments. So 49% of that, 90% is from the district share of the ad valorem property tax, when the other 51% are from the property tax benefit assessments. And one of the tools that LAFCO staff uses to analyze financial ability are fiscal indicators. And so these fiscal indicators measure fiscal health and identify trends, and they offer a snapshot of the analysis done for financial ability. And so with the Orange County Mosquito Vector Control District, it experienced moderate revenue growth, and this is mostly attributed to increases in property values in Orange County, and it experienced low expenditure growth. So expenditures grew at a lower rate than revenues grew. The district does have high reserves, and this is partly to meet the district's internal policy of having a minimum of 2 to 6 months worth of to support financial stability and long-term planning. And for revenues, that can be broken up into two main categories. There's operating reserves, which are used to, in case of any sort of economic downturns or any economic risks. And then it can also be categorized as other reserves, which are designated under various items, including facility improvements, like I previously mentioned, vehicle replacements, liabilities, emergencies, and other items as well. And so these fiscal indicators do show that the district is adequately funded to maintain and operate its mosquito vector control services as the demand will be increasing. And so finally, we have the governmental structure of the agency itself. So the district is governed by a 35-member board of trustees, and 34 of those are appointed by each city and one by the board of supervisors. And to promote accountability, transparency, and accessibility, the district does maintain a website and that offers a wide range of information, some of which show their overview of vector services, audited financial statements, a map of the service areas, and the agendas, notices, and minutes for any agenda meetings. And so with that, the recommended actions for the commission today are to receive and file the MSR for the Orange County Mosquito Vector Control District, to approve the resolutions adopting the MSR and SOI statements of determinations, and reconfirm the district's SOI, and to finally adopt the notices of exemption for the district's MSR and SOI in accordance with CEQA. And so this does conclude my presentation, and I or staff from the district are available for any questions.
All right, thank you very much. Very thorough and appreciated. Questions, comments? This is a receive and file item. Anybody? Commissioner, I saw Commissioner Fresh, please first.
Yes, I thought the report was very well put together. A basic question that I have is that, and it has to do with your reserves and, in fact, how much are you expecting to spend in your capital, that you're talking about expansion? And are you going to be able to fund that out of your reserves, or are you going to have to go into bonding in order to do that development?
So I will review the answers a little bit before Laura speaks, but the reserves are high in order to cover the cost of the rebuilding and remodeling of the facilities.
So specifically, we currently have approximately $18 million in our facility fund. We anticipate pulling another $7 million out of our operating fund to bring us up to about, we anticipate about $27 million by the end of this new fiscal year. And then we will have to bond for another $30 million. So we'll have a debt service between 1.5 million to 2 million annually for the next 30 years once we issue those bonds.
So you're anticipating then bonding in order to do the expansion?
Yes, but we've also budgeted so that with our current expenditures, we would not have to do any new Prop 218 bond, measures and tax the taxpayers to fund this project. We can absorb those debt service within our current operating budget.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Davenport.
So I'm curious among my colleagues, has anybody served on vector control? You admit it. So a couple of observations. First of all, Amy, thank you, great report. Laura, you're doing a great job over there. When I was on the board a few years ago, the budget was more like 6 million, so it's grown quite a bit. If you haven't been to vector control, to sort of address Catherine's issue, the building was outdated and inadequate in early 2000s when I served on the board. So the fact that they're still in it reminds me of the East Orange County Water District that worked in a double white trailer for 50 years that now finally has a permanent building. So long overdue and well deserved. My only observation with vector, a couple of things. One is, for those of you who don't know about vector control, yeah, they take care of rats and mosquitoes and all the usual stuff. Where they really protect the county is against those things that come in from outside the county. It's a big issue. When I was on the board, red imported fire ants made their initial appearance in Orange County. Since then, there have been a whole lot of vectors that that bring new threats, not just from outside, from other states, but also from other countries. So excellent. My only comment or criticism or something, there's not really much we can do about it, but a 35-member board is absolutely insane. It was insane when it was created. It's been insane since then. It's really unwieldy. However, that is set by state law. If you have a vector control district or mosquito vector control district, it is coterminous with the county. You're required to have one representative from every incorporated city plus one from the county. So former Senator DeVore ran a bill to try to change that. It didn't make it out of committee. But that may be something that as we look at future MSRs, because it is countywide, you could do it by supervisorial district rather than by city. It would probably make a lot more sense, but that's my only comment. But I'm fine with everything in here, and Laura, you're doing a great job. Thanks.
I have a
And just a second, Commissioner Moore.
I have a question. If there were a bill, because I see that, my gosh, if each person's getting $100, ridiculous. If you changed it though, would the cities feel that, would there be a problem with their believing they don't have representation? How could a bill solve that problem?
I don't know. It's just something to think about.
Interesting.
Yeah, can you hear me? I don't know if I could do this. The other one. And the report was thorough. What caught my ear though was the question of population growth and would that negatively impact or decrease the amount of need, and it actually increases it. And I'm in South County, and all my environmental friends are always using this term encroachment. So as we grow, we are, it seems, encroaching upon so many other species, right? Coyotes. And every time they're building along the 5 freeway, then all of a sudden there's a new vector problem because you're encroaching upon the habitat. So how is it different? Like, how is it that, how close are we to encroaching upon mosquito and vector? Or is that just a different type of species? Like, how does that sliding scale work? Are we close to it not being, negatively impacting, or are we, can you help me understand how that works?
Yeah, absolutely. So as we become more urban and increase our population, we've seen that population density does impact disease transmission. So the more dense a population is, and that's why we have most of our disease transmission for like West Nile virus in North Orange County, because they're denser in population than South Orange County. Additionally, as you get more homes built, you create more sources for mosquitoes. So people have flower pots, saucers, kids' toys, and so the natural habitat of California is very dry. We're naturally a desert, and therefore it's really urban drool that increases that. So that's why we work with a lot of water districts, because we have the same goal. Water conservation helps us as well. So it's not so much encroachment. We do see some of that with our rat population, especially South County, because you have a lot of vegetation on your hillsides to help with erosion. So you'll see some of the rat population encroaching into urban areas as they build out in South County. North County, on the other hand, is more mosquito focused and disease transmission. So different areas have different problems at this time.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
All right, anyone else?
I'll move the staff recommendation.
Receive and file, we don't actually need to take an action on it, but thank you very much.
Second.
And moved and seconded, any objection to receiving and filing this? Seeing none.
Well, Mr. Chair, just for clarification, Amy had a host of recommendations that all need to be approved, wasn't it?
Well, the entire report is just receive and file, so we are receiving and filing all of those recommendations. I'll turn to council, do we need specific action from this board to receive and file all of them, or are we good?
As you adopting a resolution, so I'd say if you move the
All right.
recommended action, that covers.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to move the recommended action, which I now get from Commissioner Bucknam. And is there a second? Second from Commissioner, I started to say DeVore, but that would be incorrect. Any objection? No opposition? All right, then the item is carried, the resolution is passed. We are good to go, and thank you. Item 8B, no, 9A, sorry. Commission discussion and actions. We will start with 9A, which is the fiscal year 2024-25 year-end comprehensive report, and it's Mr. Tappy's turn.
Chairman, Commissioners, the item before you is the end of the year comprehensive report. It includes information on the 4 goals that were part of your work plan that culminated on June 30th, which included retention, development, and recruitment, legislative advocacy, the MSR process improvements, and then also external communications. It also includes information on the MSRs that we're currently working, projects that we have completed. It includes an update on the analytics of the website, of how many people have visited the website, and also how many, which of the website pages are the most popular on our website. It also includes the last quarter of where the agency is fiscally. This is a receive and file report. I'm available for any questions that the commissioners may have. Thank you.
All right, Commissioner Dabbert.
Just a couple of comments, please. I mean, thank you. This is really comprehensive, and I commend you for the progress you made through the year. We have 65% of the budget spent roughly as of the time this report was prepared. I assume that 35% that's missing is mostly salaries for vacant positions. So something we want to keep an eye on in the coming year, but if we're consistently coming into the budget, we may want to make some adjustments. So that's my only comment at this time.
Commissioner?
Thank you, Chair. My comment is regarding the retention, staff development, retention and recruitment. And I see that we are anticipating someone coming online possibly in August. I don't know if a offer has been made or what that is, but it's my suggestion that we consider holding that off from now until we actually commence. It brings to the other point is about an executive director. I just see that with the possibility of hiring a permanent one, whether it's in-house promotion or outside, I think it's better to hold off. And it sort of relates to the next agenda item, so that you have an executive director who see how they would like to move forward with the organization and the running of the commission, and then do any type of personnel changes at that point, or see if there's even a need. I think that as you have a new director coming in, that person may have certain goals. This would be sort of the perfect time for that person to come in, evaluate, and then, and I think I'm speaking kind of ahead of the next agenda item, but to kind of see whether or not the job description really should be where they are, kind of looking at the salary study and the description, and to kind of, in some ways, a great opportunity to revamp the agency rather than staying the horse. So I feel like we're putting the cart before the horse. I think what we should be doing is first look and hire our executive director, and then make the determination whether or not we need another policy analyst, or perhaps the job description for the office clerk, clerk of the board, office manager should be revamped, expanding the duties and other positions. That's my point.
All right, this is a receive and file item, no action is taken on it, those comments are noted and we can get them in more detail in 9C with the class and comp study. But thank you for flagging that. Thoughts, questions? Commissioner Bowman.
I would just want to know from staff perspective if holding off creates a workload issue for anybody.
So,
Sorry.
two questions. So we have not hired someone. We are in the process of hiring someone. As in terms of workload, definitely right now, the workload is divided among Amy, myself, and the commission clerk of what has been going on so far.
All right, anything else on the budget, Commissioner Fresh?
Yeah, I was very pleased with the report, and I'm amazed how much the two of you accomplished, because you've been working for the last several months, without the third person, once Gavin left. And you really didn't slip from a lot of what we had set out to accomplish. And so I don't know how many hours of overtime you've been working to get that accomplished. But I think that you've really done a great job in the results that you performed. And, I really appreciate the effort you put into it, because it would have been very easy to allow to say, well, we just don't have the manpower, and therefore the thing didn't get done. And that has not been the case. And so I just want to compliment you for that.
Thank you. Mr. Dabber.
I'm very sympathetic to Commissioner Wong's comments. I think at some point we need to have a board discussion about staffing levels. I thought that was going to come out of the strategic plan, but I'm not sure that we articulated that as clearly as we could. However, we've known that Luis has been heading down the path of recruiting somebody, and I don't think we should stop that at this point. We have, as he said, Luis and Amy, we usually have more than that. And then we can have a discussion on the rest of these items later, but I'm very sympathetic to your discussion on staffing levels, but I don't think we should have Luis stop the process he's going through now. That's just my 2 cents.
Agree.
All right. Yes, sir.
I was wondering if there was any update to the commission as a whole as to what is going on as far as replacing Carolyn Emery and appointing a new executive officer. I haven't really heard anything. I actually thought it was going to be happening in June and July, and then we're going to go dark next month, so now we're looking at September. I just appreciate any update that you're allowed to talk about. I don't know if it needs to be closed session or not, but anything you can let me know, I appreciate it.
I will turn to council. We don't have that discussion agendized. The request is a fair one. If there might be some updated information that could be given out to the commissioners either here or in writing, if we need a closed session, we can always schedule one. But the request is a fair one in my mind.
Yeah, where the commission left that was to table that recruitment. It would have been on your agenda when Luis was appointed interim, and you tabled that till you could get to this stage, looking at next year's budget and the staffing plan. And then when and if it's right to put that on the agenda again, because it would necessarily include discussion of the incumbent, I'd say that you just have a motion to put that on a future closed session.
Yeah, what I would suggest is exactly that. Our next meeting on closed session, we can have that conversation. Later, we're going to talk about whether we even have an August meeting or not. But August or September, whenever we have our next meeting, a discussion along those lines in closed session to make sure everybody is on the same page.
Yeah, thank you.
That's where you left it, so
All right.
that's great, we'll remember to do that.
Sounds right. All right, this is a receive and file item. Anything more on the year-end comprehensive report? All right, seeing nothing, we will consider that both received and filed. 9B, the legislative report.
Commissioners, the item before you is the July legislative report. It includes two items, Senate Bill 777 and also the annual omnibus bill. It's an effort by LAFCO. So Senate Bill 777 is the bill the commission reviewed the last meeting and adopted in a post position. At the time, the bill required that LAFCOs, the local LAFCO of each county, designate or transition an abandoned endowment care cemetery into a city or a county. Following the meeting, several letters of oppositions were submitted to the author, and the author did make amendments. One of those amendments include that after a cemetery is identified, after a year, a city or county would be notified of that cemetery. Then within 120 days, an application of resolution would be submitted to the local LAFCO for a change of organization, meaning either the cemetery would be annexed into an existing district or a new special district would be created. The other item that was also amended, the fees that are included in the Cemetery Act would be increased by 150%, and that's to generate funds for an abandoned fund grant, which would allow for funding for those cities and counties that submit an application to the local LAFCO for that change of organization. Now, there were amendments done to the bill, but essentially the bill is still not a starter for the LAFCO process because the funding is not there to support the transition of these cemeteries. So from a staff perspective, staff has recommended the commission continue to maintain an opposed position on this bill. And it also aligns with the commission's legislative policy to oppose legislation that is not good governance and also doesn't enhance LAFCO's authority. I do want to say that since the posting of the agenda, I've talked to the executive officer from LA, which is working very closely with the author and some of the agencies as they have two cemeteries in their county. And there is discussion that the entire language of the bill will be replaced by new language that would create a working group to identify how these cemeteries should be handled in the state. So I will keep the commission apprised of that, but as of now, we recommend the commission maintain an opposed position. The second item is the annual omnibus bill by LAFCO. This is typically done with the Assembly Local Government Committee. However, due to the happenings that happened with LAFCO, that didn't happen this year, and so they approached the Senate Local Government Committee, which they have their own bill, to include two of their non-substantive changes to the two government code sections, and staff agreed to include them. So far, they have not been included, and that is why I'm not recommending a position at this point. However, I will bring this back for commission consideration at a future meeting. This concludes my presentation, and the only item is to continue maintaining an opposed position on Senate Bill 777.
The only problem with that is that theoretically, we won't have a meeting until September, at which point the legislature's out of session and it's a little late to weigh in on 858.
That is correct, Chair Wagner. The other thing that I could suggest is that the commission take a support position, and when those amendments are done to the bill, I can submit a letter of support for that bill. Or we can have an August meeting and I can bring that back.
I'm not angling for an August meeting. A support with a support if amended position is normal, and the two amendments are non-substantive changes. Director Dapper.
Yeah, may I suggest that we just give staff the discretion to proceed as they see fit, because even support as amended, we may not like the amendments. So I would
Support if amended, and we suggest the amendments is the way it's usually phrased.
But if we run out of time, because I'm certainly not going to suggest we have an August meeting to deal with this issue, that we just give staff the authority to use their judgment on this one.
Thoughts, questions, comments? All right. Anything else on the legislative position? Continue the oppose on the dumb cemetery bill.
And support.
And
As
And
Suggestion.
staff discretion to support if amended, oppose if wrongly amended, whatever.
You got it, Louise. We trust you.
We trust you, Louis. Thoughts on that? All right, seeing no opposition, that will be the direction from the commission. All right, we are at 9C, classification and comps. Yes, ma'am. Well, it's a receive and file item, so I don't know that it needs a
Well, we took
motion.
No, you took an action on it.
I'll move it.
Okay. Dabbert and Buckman, any opposition? Any abstentions? All right, matter carries unanimously.
Thank you.
9C, class and comp study, Louise or Bill, whoever wants to go.
I'll start it off and then I'll transfer it over to Bill. Commissioners, the item before you is the compensation and classification study. Originally, the commission approved a comprehensive organization study in 2018 in which approved the current classifications for the positions and also the compensations. The commission has, through the work plans, the past work plan and the upcoming work plan, identified that it's important to continue to update the classification and compensation structure for the agency and therefore approve the compensation and classification study before you. I will turn it over to Bill for a presentation on the report.
Chair and Commission, thank you for the introduction, Luis. As he said, you put this in your strategic plan and you carried it forward. I mean, that's how you recruit, retain employees and develop them, by keeping compensation and classification plans current. I'm going to paraphrase sections from the report. We looked at compensation for typical LAFCOs, which was extremely difficult for a number of reasons. One, many of them don't have all the information on their webpage, so it took a lot of phone calls and personal contact I had to make to find the data. But we did get information from Los Angeles County, Riverside County, San Bernardino County, San Diego County, and Ventura County. Very typical agencies to Orange County LAFCO. The compensation report you have before you was based upon the top step salaries for these positions within your agency. We also looked at the classifications for every employee with this commission. We interviewed the appropriate staff members, looked at the classifications for other commissions relative to comparability, and we made some suggestions in this report for some modifications to the classification descriptions. We looked at, and very quickly, the employee benefit programs, and that just became an impossible task. There's too many variables to it. It's very, very difficult. Longevity, time off, vacation. There's no consistency, not comparability. We tried it in 2017. It was unsuccessful. So it's not something we can get a total comp number on. So basically what you're looking at is just the compensation portion of it. We looked at the classifications for executive officer, classification and salary, executive officer, assistant EO, policy analyst 2, and the office manager, commission clerk. Table 1 in the document outlines the information we obtained from the other agencies. And you'll note several of them don't have comparable positions, so those are blanks. In terms of the top step compensation review, that's table 2 of the document. You see the numbers for each of the positions, and you can see what the mean survey salary is across the board for the agencies we surveyed. At this time, the executive officer is 0.21% below the mean. The assistant EO is 2.44% off the mean. Policy analyst 2 is 5.75 below survey. The office manager clerk was 18.3%. Now, the office clerk, commission clerk, office manager, commission clerk, was difficult to ascertain the specific data. Many of the agencies had different definitions of what that position did. Ventura County had the highest compensation, which is way beyond the norm for the other affected agencies. That position was more functioning as like an executive assistant to the executive officer, so that number was modified. We did make modifications to salary range, though for that position I will explain later in the document. There's one position that is recommended for consideration to be placed in the classification plan, and that would be a senior policy analyst. That does not mean it's a position to be filled. Most agencies create what's called a career ladder that allows for you to move up within an organization, and is typically in the analyst position, starting at the bottom from 1 to a 2 to a theoretical senior position. It accomplishes two things. One, if you want to retain people, you got to give them a career path. You've lost a lot of people here because they bump and there's nowhere else to go. But by having 3 analyst positions, you allow for promotionability or a lateral transfer in if a position becomes vacant. So it's got two purposes. One, a career ladder is really critical to organizations to have a succession plan, to use that term. Cost of living adjustments, typically the agency, your commission has used the county formula, and that is built into the 2017 plan, so we didn't do anything with that number. Whatever the county awards to their employees rolls into the commission salary adjustments. So back to the survey's top step adjustments. You have a 10-step salary plan. That's not normal for a lot of agencies, but it is normal now for agencies that are recruiting and retaining people. Most agencies have a 5-step plan, 1 to 5, and you receive a modification, typically on an annual evaluation of 0 to 5%. So if you're still breathing after a year, you get 5%. If you're not breathing, you get 0 and shouldn't be working there. The 10-step allows for performance modifications. So if you get a 2.5, you did okay. You get a 5%, you did very well. So it allows for the supervisor and employee to create a work program and have performance-based incentive increases, not just automatic on an annual basis. So you adopt a 10-step plan in 2017. Table 3 shows you the adjustments I referenced would be 2.4% increase. Let me go back. The EO automatically has a review every year, so there's no modification suggested to that plan. The assistant EO would be an adjustment of 2.4%. Policy analyst 2, 5.75%. And office clerk commission, office manager, office clerk, I'll get that right, a 10% adjustment. Now that is based upon moving some numbers around and trying to compensate for the uniqueness, what Cheryl does compared to other clerks that don't do as much. So the recommendation is to 1, adjust the top step salary as identified in the document, to approve the top step 10-step performance schedule exhibit 3, and to establish the new classification of senior policy analyst. That's that career position. So with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions about how we put this report together.
All right, thank you very much. Let me come back to the commission. Commissioner Gabbard.
Thanks, Bill. I just want to reiterate something Bill said, that the addition of an additional classification is not an additional position, so we ought not hear that. We had the opportunity, the 3 of us, to review this in executive session. I think we all concurred that creating that career ladder was important.
I couldn't understand exactly what you said. You know, that what did you decide?
What Bill just said, that the addition of that senior policy analyst creates a career ladder within our higher ed group without adding a position.
Right.
But if we had an employee that was a 1 that promoted to a 2, and then was still one to stick around, we'd have the opportunity to promote that person to a 3.
Okay.
We just wouldn't have a 1 or a 2, we just have the 3. So it just creates that.
Right.
Go ahead. Yep.
All right. I thought the study was quite interesting, and I think that I was surprised when looking and seeing the comparisons that were really, considering cost of living in Orange County, that we're really not compensating, in my opinion, adequately for the performance of our people. And so I'm very much on board with recommending that we get our base salaries up to at least to the median. And I would be interested to know what's been our turnover history within for the agency, for the commission. How much turnover have we had? I've been around for about 8 years, and we've probably changed about 2 or 3 people. We only have 5. You become to have a pretty high percentage of turnover, which oftentimes, at least my experience is, an organization that has high turnover, either there's an issue with the culture of it, or there's a compensation issue oftentimes because people start looking when they feel that they haven't been compensated fairly. And, and usually, it's always, the beholder is the one who makes that decision, but as an organization, we need to make sure that we're really competitive. And I think the skill set required, or what I observe here, is not something that's easily replicated. I mean, it takes a pretty good skill set to be effective in the analyst positions and in the roles that you guys are fulfilling. So I was just surprised when I looked at the numbers. And do you have a number on turnover?
I can speak to the years that I've been with the agency, which is about 10. I would say between 4 to 6. Considering that our staff is 5 members.
Yeah.
So it's the time I've been here, yes.
Further discussion? All right, let me entertain a motion.
Move the recommended action.
All right.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Further discussion? All right, the item has been moved and seconded. Any opposition or abstentions? Bill, thank you. Very good study. I appreciated the opportunity to talk with you in executive session about it, and this is good. Do appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, the item has been approved unanimously. Thank you all. All right, that brings us to 9D, which is the appointment of the Southern Alliance of LAFCO form.
That.
Which is Derek's item. I moved Derek.
Second.
Well, hold on to that.
We'll let Peggy have it.
I'm a little ahead of myself. The item is to appoint 2 members.
So I nominate Peggy as the alternate victim.
You nominate who?
Are you
Victimized.
Are you accepting?
I'm accepting, yeah.
All right, so we have Derek and Peggy for the new LAFCO.
I got your back. I got your back.
Anyone want to say anything? Speak
Come on,
now
Derek.
or forever hold your peace. Commissioner Freshley.
Yeah, I don't disagree, other than I think that it's important that the person that is gonna be, Derek has spent a lot of hours involved in this. And I think it's the assistant should be somebody who's already been participating and has an understanding. And I think that Carol here has been to she's been to 2 of the annual conferences. And every time we've had a meeting, a Zoom meeting, Carol has participated. And I think it's important that the person who's gonna be the assistant should be somebody who is coming in with an understanding of how the organization should be working or going forward. Because I think from what I understand is what's being developed, there's a lot of things that still have to be structured because it hasn't existed in this format. And I think having somebody that has the background or the experience in participating over the last several years is quite important. So I would suggest that we consider Carol for that position.
Agreed. There's going to be work as we set this entity up, above and beyond what there might normally be on such commissions. So with that said, so that the record is clear, my motion was for Derek for the regular, and the motion was for Peggy as the alternate, and now I'm hearing a motion for Commissioner Moore as the alternate. Oh, you can't.
She can't make a motion. She's not voting.
No, okay, fair enough. Well, but procedurally, let me deal with the Derek question first. We can divide these out. Any opposition to Commissioner McGregor as the member?
No.
Any opposition? The answer is no opposition. Derek, got that done. All right, so there is a recommendation we have a motion for Commissioner Huang. Is there a motion?
Yeah, I'm
You move
I
what?
thought we did,
for the
sorry.
alternate member.
That motion's been made. The motion,
I thought you were looking for a motion, you like.
the question is, I'm looking for I'm looking for a nomination for Carol. Yes, sir? No. No, sir. All right. The only nomination is Commissioner Wong. Was there a second?
Jim.
Second.
You're seconding Peggy. Got it. Moved and seconded. Further discussion. Any opposition to Commissioner Wong as the alternate?
You can't object either.
Oh,
Seeing none, that will be the order of the day. All right.
Chair, can you clarify who made the motion and second for fundraiser?
I made the motion and Doug seconded it.
Okay, and for Wong
Wong, it was Doug and
and Fisk.
Fissler. Yes. All right. Item 9C, you guys want to meet in August or not?
Negative.
All right, so there's,
Can I make a comment? I think I'm the only one who's about to suggest that we keep it because I think we should go to closed session to discuss the executive director search. I think that it's important to
Do
have
do that
that.
in September.
But if you all want to be in September.
I think Louise could hold down the shop for another month.
Okay, that's my comment.
Do we need a motion on this? Or do we just take direction here to cancel?
We don't need a motion, but just Cheryl notice the cancellation.
I'll make that motion.
Anyone
I'll make that motion.
object to that? All right, then we will be dark in August. Get your vacations in, because we'll roll up our sleeves in September and talk about Louise. All right, we are at item 10, commissioner comments. Anyone for the good of the order? Commissioner Moore.
Comment, although our mosquito vector control person has departed. She mentioned South County, and we have coyotes that take care of the rats frequently. In fact, they're pretty efficient, so efficient that in my neighborhood, they attacked my dog. And she was about that close to being a coyote breakfast, so the rats and the mice are kept down somewhat efficiently by the coyotes.
Anyone else? All right, Mr. Tapia, interim executive officer's report.
No report.
Very good. Information, announcements. All right, there is no need for a closed session, so we are at everybody's favorite part of the meeting, the adjournment. Our next regularly scheduled meeting will be held most likely in September, and we'll all get notice from our clerk. Thank you all, and we are adjourned.